because it's this circuit breaker mixed media event. A couple of things that are quite exciting about this. Firstly, the Fugitive Doctor. I think this is a great use of that character. To have her involved in this story, I think she's kind of the perfect version of the character to incorporate into this kind of thing. It's lovely to see more of Jo Martin. Obviously, we've got her audios at the moment. I know the newest set came out quite recently. I still need to get round to that myself, but I do intend on checking it out, Dead or Alive. But yeah, this is interesting, it's exciting, it's kind of focused on the Black Archive and unit and all that. We don't have too many details about the actual story of this, but it looks like it's going to be a lot of the similar kind of partners and different, what's the word, the kind of the companies that are involved in this, BBC Audio, Big Finish, Titan Comics, the novels, BBC Books, a lot of what we've seen previously with these kind of multimedia events. So I think we've kind of got an idea of what to expect. But I was a little bit surprised because, based on certainly the kind of perception of the previous two events, Time Lord Victorious and Doomsday, because it kind of felt like neither of them had been that successful. I know Time Lord Victorious obviously was kind of a victim of its release schedule. Obviously it came out in the pandemic, and that affected things a little bit there. I never quite felt sure what Time Lord Victorious was, like what the story was, what the narrative, what the kind of pitch for it was. It looked interesting, but it also was a bit, I always found it a little bit vague in the way it presented itself. And then a couple of years ago, of course, with Doomsday, which was not the most well received, certainly not that I saw. It kind of became a bit of a punching bag. It had a really wonky release video, but the pitch was much clearer, I felt, in terms of what it was. But it didn't seem to do that well. Even when it was coming out, people weren't really talking about it all that much. So I'm a little bit surprised that we're getting another one of these events, because they can't be, cheap to put together. The kind of organisational aspect of getting all these companies, these different mediums together to kind of cohere in this one story, and releasing all these things and managing that. It can't be, it's got to take a lot of management, a lot of effort, a lot of planning, and as I say, I can't imagine it's a cheap venture. So I think this kind of proves that, as much as maybe we think that the multimedia stuff hasn't necessarily been a success based on the previous two attempts, at least that's what I thought, I think this kind of proves that resoundingly wrong. These are clearly successful enough to keep getting them, and yeah, I think that's fun. I think it's exciting. I think it's a really interesting thing. I am very tempted to kind of probably try and keep up with this. It's not till next year, so I've got a bit of time, and it will depend on how many sort of things there are, and I'm still want to know a little bit more about what the actual story is, what the actual narrative, and the overarching kind of, what that is. But kind of as it stands currently, this is intriguing. It's interesting. It's being overseen by Esme Jikimi Pearson, who wrote the novelisation for Church on Ruby Road, which I have read. I did a video on back last year when that came out. Which, although I don't love that story. I had no complaints about Jikimi's prose and the way she adapted it. She's also got an upcoming novel, I believe, The Moon Cruise, which is a 15th Doctor Belinda novel. I think it's really great to see someone like Esme be given the kind of the overseer position for this kind of event. I'm really glad, and I don't mean this with any malice, but that it's not another James Goss or Scott Hancock or one of these names who's been around a long time, you know. As I said, I don't mean that in any rude way. I don't mean that to kind of say that those particular people are bad at their jobs or don't deserve work. But it's really nice to have a fresh voice come in and be the kind of executive you know, I'm trying to think what the word is now. You know what I mean, though, being the kind of the person who the kind of visionary of the project. Yeah, it'll be interesting. As I say, I would like a few more details before I really properly commit to this. And as I say, it's not till next year yet, so who knows? But yeah, exciting new announcement, and it's nice to see that these things are successful enough that we are going to keep getting them. It's also just nice to know that we've got a kind of a big thing to look forward to next year, because it's looking very likely that there's not going to be a series next year. I mean, there's almost definitely not going to be a series next year. We still don't know what the shape of the show is. The future is very, very uncertain. For the first time in a very long time, there's no path forward for the show. We'll probably get War Between the Land and the Sea next year, but yeah, it's nice to have something big and exciting and involved to look forward to. Although, of course, it will be, you know, these things are, as I say, not cheap for, one would imagine, not cheap for BBC Studios to produce, but also not cheap for us as the audience to participate in. I think especially with Time Lord Victorious, that was one of the big things of just keeping up with it was a lot financially, you know. As I said, I didn't really hear much about Doomsday at all, but yeah, it'll probably be a similar deal. You know, a couple of audios, a couple of novels, maybe a good, you know, volume of the Titan comics, some mobile game tie-ins, some audio books, and maybe a couple other little bits and pieces. But I think what it does seem to be the case, and this was, I think, possibly also a little bit the case with Doomsday, is that they're not quite as ambitious in terms of how involved and how many different things as they were with Time Lord Victorious. Obviously, with that you had the Eagle Moss Hero Collector stuff. I know they've now, I believe, gone into administration. They are kind of not still operating, certainly in the way that the figurine collection was still going at that time, back in 2020. I know they do still exist, and there are still, I think, occasional releases, but it's not an ongoing thing like it was. But there was also the Escape Room, which was part of Time Lord Victorious. There was going to get anything like that. So, yeah, I think kind of slimming down exactly kind of what the events, what the things are, what the participating companies and mediums are. I think books, comics, audio books, audio plays, mobile game tie-ins, I think that's probably a healthy amount of cross-media stuff, but it's not overwhelming. So yeah, this could be really good. It might be terrible, but what the more we get these, the more the better they're going to be, because these companies and they're going to work together more often and kind of understand how to do it better. So yeah, I've got a kind of good feeling about this. It was a nice little surprise, and yeah, really lovely to get a big event dedicated to the Fugitive Doctor. That's really lovely. So yeah, what are your thoughts on Circuit Breaker? Are you excited? Are you apprehensive? Did you get involved with Time of Victorious and Doomsday? I never really did. I think I did watch the Daleks animated show with a mate, which was very odd, and I have read the comic Defender of the Daleks. But other than that, I never really got involved with the cross-platform multimedia events. But this one I might go for. So yeah, thank you for watching. As I say, just a bit of a quicker one today, although as always I've gone a bit longer than I anticipated. But yeah, Circuit Breaker, what do you think? Let me know. And I will see you all next time.